What's up? I'm Elephante.
And I'm Jack, and we are Diplomacy, and you're watching Lifeminute TV.
So we actually grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan together, and we sort of split our separate ways to do our own creative things for a little while. I produce electronic music and DJ as Elephante. Jack is a very accomplished actor on How to Get Away with Murder. We both wound up as Michigan boys out in LA somehow, and we're like, we should start a band.
It took a little convincing of me on Tim's part, but once we got into the studio and started, figuring out our sound and drawing upon some inspiration, we really started to like it and thought that this might be worth pursuing. I grew up in a very musical household, sang in church choir. My dad is an amazing bluegrass musician, so he always had us playing different instruments. And then I actually came out to New York to go to New York University, where I pursued musical theater. So had aspirations of being on Broadway, and those were quickly dashed when I got to school out here and I realized I was the worst guy in my class.
I was classically trained in piano. I wanted to be John Mayer growing up, so I was playing acoustic guitar and singing songs about heartbreak, really bad songs that I wrote. Luckily for me, that kind of blossomed into like a real love for the music.
The first single, it's called Silver Lake Queen. It's out now. We wrote this song about a girl that I met in the Silver Lake neighborhood of Los Angeles. I met this girl out and she was just this absolutely charming and magnetic, almost regal figure who would hold court in these bars, and men would go up to her and women would go up to her and offer sort of gifts and tribute. And I told Tim about her and he sort of rolled his eyes and thought I was being dramatic, as I usually am. And then we went out to get a beer and sure enough, she came in the door and I said, that's her, that's the Silver Lake Queen. And Tim was equally as sort of...
I was mesmerized. It's almost like a scene out of a movie, and so I feel like we gotta write the song about her. So I'm on tour as Elephante right now, and I'll be back in New York shortly before the Diplomacy New York show.
And I'm finishing up the 6th season of How to Get Away with Murder. It's the last season, which is extremely bittersweet. I was literally crashing on Tim's couch when I auditioned for the show.
I read with him for his audition, so...
Yeah, Tim feels responsible for me landing the role, which is not entirely unfair.
I don't feel responsible, I was responsible.
Sure. It's become like a family. I mean, filming that first episode, we were on location in Philly and it was like, we were just all so excited. I remember the news of Viola getting cast and like the next day we were on location shooting in the woods and it was freezing, but we were all just like ecstatic. It's like I'm working with an Oscar winner and now I'm working with like this EDM producer, and it's cool, but yeah, sure. We have another single coming out in January, and then the EP's coming out in February, and then shortly after that, we have some tour dates in a couple different cities. And meanwhile, we're writing and recording the full-length album right now. We've been really committed to throwing a bunch of different content up on social media. We wanted this to be more than just music. We wanted it to be like this whole creative process. So hopefully fans can come along for that entire journey and not just, listen to a song.